I'll just say that I'm Curtis Kelly from Japan, and I'm pretty wild about the brain, very interested in brain things. Working at a university in Japan. Is that good enough? I also write a column for the Teaching English Connection on how the brain's related to language teaching.
There you go.
All right. So today's topic is understanding the social brain, which will change your ideas of ELT forever. But the real title is, it changed my ideas of ELT forever. I think there's one thing I learned last year that was important, is this idea of the social brain. And it's not just a catchy term. There is a part of our brain that is the social network. We'll hear about that today. But just to get an idea how it works, if you've never seen this video, just watch how these people are collaborating. Well, that's pretty amazing. And that's something, OK Go does these fantastic videos. They do them all in one take. They did this in Japan with Japanese dancers, and it's just an amazing video. So watch it on YouTube when you have a chance. But let me ask, how many people were teaching online last year because of the coronavirus? Yeah. By the way, please open your chats and feel free to share ideas. It's a great learning tool. And I prefer cameras on if you don't mind, but really you don't have to, because I know what it's like in the morning sometimes. So share your ideas in the chat. I'll try to keep a tab on too. But I think most people are teaching online. We were in Japan for the first semester. Second semester, we went back face to face. But I remember thinking, this is going to be so cool. I'd used Zoom and Canvas before when I was a teaching fellow in a Harvard course. And I thought, this is going to be so cool. It's going to be like this, offering all kinds of resources to students in our emergency remote teaching situation. But actually, it was more like this. We lost something by going online. And before I get into what we lost, if you used Zoom or Skype or other kind of software, did you notice that you had a Zoom fatigue? What's called Zoom fatigue? Your brain was more tired. You got more tired using Zoom than you did in like live interactions. Okay, somebody shake their heads. Is that a yes or a no? Do you recognize that? Well, this has been much written about. And the question is, why? Why do you think we experience Zoom fatigue? Go ahead, please feel free to type some answers into the chat. I'll give you a minute here to think about that.
Curtis, can I pop in for just a second? Hi.
Sure, Lindsay.
You are actually sharing your desktop screen and not so much the window.
Oh dear. Okay.
Yeah. So it looks a little bit small for all of us.
Yeah. Well, guys got to help me with that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
There we go. Good old Lindsay. Man, she's fantastic too. Okay. So yeah, type in the chat. Why do you think we experience Zoom fatigue? More intensive reactions and attention required. Uh-huh. My students have 22 hours of lectures all via Zoom. Yeah. Yes, especially when cameras are off. That's interesting. Zoom fatigue is partly a result of what we're used to face-to-face teaching. Of course, those are all good answers. Looking at a bright screen all day, all the time, limited face-to-face interactions, having to sit with no interaction with people physically, fighting distractions that don't exist in a classroom, sitting in one place, difficult to converse naturally, eye strain, focusing on only one spot. Of course, those are all correct, but there's another reason too, and I think will kind of surprise you. And it's related to getting back to that we lost something. I'll give you the answer in a couple more minutes, let you keep typing in. But getting back to we lost something, I did a survey around my university to find out how are people using online teaching. And basically for our university, it was these three ways. There were Zoom lectures. But other than my class, I was surprised to find with my graduate students, they had 9 professors using Zoom. I was the only one using breakout rooms. The others were just using it as a vehicle, like to give lectures. A lot of teachers just recorded their videos into YouTube, had students write reports. Then we had the learning management system readings. You know, teachers would put up papers for students to read, and they'd be asked to complete some kind of a homework exercise. And that's part of what we lost because we weren't taking advantage of the social brain. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. And the experts on the social brain, the person who's really popularized it recently is Matthew Lieberman. And there's this great TED Talk, The Social Brain and the Superpowers. Just type in TED Talk and Lieberman and take a listen to that. It's really good. Another one is Louis Cozzolino, who is more of a psychologist. Lieberman's a neuroscientist. Cozzolino is a psychologist, another fantastic talker. I suggest you listen to his presentations on the social brain on YouTube too. And he wrote the book Attachment-Based Teaching. So what is the social brain? Well, about 20 years ago, we discovered this part of the brain called the default mode network. And it's really the non-function part, people call it, or something like that. And basically, the default mode network is the part of your brain that becomes active when you're not doing any other kind of processing. So like you're listening to a presentation, like right now, if you're starting to get bored, your default mode network starts up, you start daydreaming. It's the part that controls all your daydreaming, and it's the main part of your brain that goes into activation when you're not doing any other kind of heavy processing. So this was a big discovery for us. It's actually more than 20 years ago, but it's a big discovery. But then Lieberman was doing studies on what parts of the brain are activated when people are mentalizing, when they're watching other people and trying to guess what they're thinking or doing, the social brain, and take a look. It's almost the same. So our default mode is the social brain, what's called the social mentalizing network. And it's called the mentalizing network because it's the part of our brain we're using all the time when we watch other people, you know, watching their reactions, watching their eyes, watching their gestures, watching how quickly they respond, mentalizing, using facial, body, verbal cues to figure out other people's thoughts, moods, and intentions. Like she looks happy, but is she really happy? There's something else going on there. And this comic is so good, I bought it. So the mentalizing network is the mind reading network of the brain. And just to show you how powerful it is, here's 2 pictures of Paul Ekman. He's smiling in both. Do you notice a difference between these smiles? Again, please type in the chat. Thanks, Michael, for putting that link in. Okay, what's different? I mean, how do you feel about each smile? The left is the real smile. Uh-huh. Eyes are wider on the right, but yeah, which one seems more real, authentic? I wonder if we are all seeing the same left or right, but you can probably identify that one of these smiles is more genuine because of this, because it is. Even these very microscopic differences in the guy's face give you a signal, because that's your mentalizing network taking over and processing that. And here's De Laurentiis and James Franco, a couple stars. And the three characters have got a fake smile are the eyes are not closed, there's no crow's feet, the visible bottom teeth, kind of the flight attendant smile there on the left that's less genuine than the one on the right. So the mentalizing network is constantly involved in construal. In social psychology, construals are how individuals perceive, comprehend, or interpret the world around them, particularly the behavior or action of others towards themselves. And obviously, it's a really important part of the brain. And it's connected to another topic in neuroscience that I completely love, predictive processing. Anybody wants, we wrote a whole issue on that for our Mind Brain Ed think tank. So if you're interested, let me know. But this is so important for our species that evolution has even enhanced it. The way our eyes are shaped is related, is something we evolved to allow other people to mind read us better. But I'm talking about the sclera, the white part of the eyes. We're the only primate that have that big white area. And that helps other people figure out which direction we're gazing, what our intentions might be. If you compare it to gorillas, you can't tell where they're looking unless you get really close. So getting back to Zoom fatigue, maybe the real reason is because our mentalizing network is so active all the time when we're watching other people. I'm talking about cases where the cameras are on. The reactions are slow, or the people aren't looking quite at us. Everything's pixelated. There might be a half-second delay before they do a verbal reaction. And our brain is not used to that. It's going into overdrive trying to figure out what those other people's feelings are. They might be looking at us on the screen, but it looks like they're looking away. So to compensate for that, it's really exhausting. And I noticed too, for me, Zoom fatigue, I had it the first month, but after a while, my brain seemed to adapt and I didn't get nearly as tired using Zoom after that. Well, it makes me wonder about my own classes. This is one of my classes from last spring. How am I reacting? Participation scores and things like, especially like these three students. Here's this guy, the whole semester, I just see the top of his head. What kind of a score am I going to give him? Or this guy, he's all fuzzy. And it looks like he's looking away or bored or something. But actually what he's doing, he's looking at his pad, which has the materials on it, so he's not bored or looking away. He's looking at the Zoom on the pad there with his camera somewhere else. And then her putting on makeup, dressing up, cleaning up the room and everything. Guess who got the highest score? It might be Zoom bias, but she got the highest score. Well, the thing is, this is something that we have that no other species does. We might talk, well, my dog knows what I'm feeling. Yes, dogs have a little bit of that ability, but not nearly as much as human beings do. And we know about, like, other primates, for chimpanzees, for example, human babies and chimpanzee babies' brains development reaches about the same stage up to the age of 3. They stop, we keep going. So their ability to socialize or mentalize their theory of mind is about equal to a 3-year-old. A 3-year-old can tell if you want something, but they can't really be telling how you feel inside and whether it really matches up with how you feel on the outside. That's only something we have. And that's why other primates, can only work together in small groups, 20, at the most 50. But what about us? Because we have this social brain, we can mentalize what people are doing thousands of miles away. These two guys really getting along there. We can work together in groups of tens of thousands, of hundreds of millions. If you think about, when people go to war, other primates can't do that. And that's why this video was so amazing. Here's a couple hundred people all working in sync together in a one-shot scene, and only human beings can do that. They can't. So Joseph Lieberman says, the social brain is our superpower. It is the thing that makes us different from other species, not language. Language is actually a tool of the social brain. It's not language, it's not the ability to use tools, it's not the ability to record history. It's the social brain that really makes us different. And it is the thing that makes us superhuman. It's our superpower. I mean, think about this. What are the 3 largest nations in the world? Let's see, Brian, are you there? Brian, can you turn your mic on? It's really quiet just hearing my voice. Or Jeremy, okay, Jeremy, you got something for us? Or Brian? What are the 3 largest nations in terms of population? Sorry.
China. India.
China's 1, yeah.
India.
India's 1, yeah. India's number 3. China's number 2. What's the largest? As of March 2018, the largest nation in terms of population became Facebook. Okay, it's a trick, I know. But think about that. The number of people, active users on Facebook, surpassed the largest nation in the world otherwise. And I'll let you read this quote from Lieberman about why. Ladies and gentlemen, we are social. The social brain is so much a necessary part of our existence. And it's not just for fun. We need it to stay alive. I heard Kozolino talk about this. Which is worse for a baby, abuse or neglect? Well, I thought neglect is, there's still, physical safety, so it must be abuse. He says, no, it's neglect. Watching babies that are completely neglected, they'll deteriorate. They'll start shrinking up. And I'm going to show you a couple scenes. I'm sorry, this is rather disturbing, but this is a child who's in the Romanian orphanages. You could just see how with neglect and no care, this child just started to shrivel up. And if you read about it, the children of that generation, when they grew into adults, their height level was much lower, their mental faculties were much less developed. And even just look at here's 3-year-old children, normal and from neglect. It's not just the size, you can see the ventricles inside are different too. Well, we need connection. And I just noticed today, Jill Biden is the wife of the new president in the US, and she gets it. Here's something she said. And the thing is, I know you know that, but you just know that intuitively. And what I'm telling you today is giving you the science behind why this important thing about connection and socializing is so important in our classrooms. And actually the mentalizing network, the social brain gets developed throughout our entire lives, but it seems to go into overdrive in adolescence. They become very self-absorbed. They're seeking independence, so they break away from their families and they're much more peer-oriented. And they're both showing off and being risk-taking and risk-avoiding. But interestingly, the showing off is only when there's other peers around. If you get an adolescent who doesn't have other people watching him or is just with his parents, suddenly they become very polite and their kind of reactions are just the same as other people. And there's this great term about what's happening in adolescence from psychology. And it's called social signal sensitivity. And that's when it really shoots up and they're very, very concerned about how other people see them. Now, Lieberman did this experiment where three people would throw a ball to each other, just throwing it around, throwing it to anyone they wanted to. And the upper two are really computer programs. And the bottom one is a real human. And after a while, the two in the top would just throw the ball to each other and ignore the real human. And what happened? People afterwards said they felt really sad about that. Even this silly computer game, this feeling of being left out, and adolescence reaction was the strongest. Another thing he found in this kind of experimentation, this is interesting, the physical pain part of your brain is actually the same as a social pain part of your brain. Social pain and physical pain come from the same area. They just got to go through different channels after that. So if you're feeling bad about a relationship or something, what you can do is take an aspirin or a Tylenol or a pain reliever. And the same way it reduces physical pain, it reduces social pain. So we shouldn't think of social pain and physical pain as being separate. And we should think about that in our classes too. If a child comes in with a knife wound on their arm, we'll send them right down to the nurse, the nursing station or whatever it is to get it taken care of. We'll give them all kinds of care. What about a child who comes into a classroom after being bullied, experiencing the same kind of pain, but we won't make any special considerations, but maybe we should. Maybe we should be very careful to manage how the students interact with each other and watch those sort of things, which I'm sure because you're the people that are here up this morning listening to this, that you're the people that are already doing that. So again, the social brain is our superpower. But Lieberman says we also have a kryptonite. Kryptonite is, the mineral that took away the power of Superman. And what do you think it is? In Lieberman's words, education. And he's talking more about general education, not language education. But he makes a good point. Most of education is oriented towards the analytical brain, working memory, the processing parts of the brain, the part that does the analysis. We're always teaching that. Okay, read this. Try to figure out who the something or other is. Memorize this. There'll be a test on a Tuesday. Do this all by yourself. And it's different from the social thinking part of the brain. And these two parts of the brain are kind of like on a neural seesaw. When one is active, the other is not. And interestingly, it's always the social brain that becomes active when the pressure is equal. But they can't both be active at the same time. Yet, both enable learning. So we're trying to get learning through the analytical brain and generally not using the social brain to its full potential. So both enable learning. Well, for example, imagine you're going to teach this TOEIC prep course. That's pretty much an analytical brain type study. How would you activate the social brain for content subjects that are not naturally social? What are some ways that you could do that? Go ahead, please type in your into the chat again here. Share your ideas there. Group work, test each other. Okay, good. Practice in groups. Peer editing, jigsaw reading, group work. Tap into the experience scheme. Oh, interesting. Games, teach a partner. Okay, you guys, never mind. You guys are so ahead of the game here. I did this in Cambodia with Amanda Gillis Fuzaki recently, and nobody really got the answer we wanted. Oops. Which was tutoring. Yeah, I mean, that, of course, all those ways, group team, but tutoring is especially powerful. And we're seeing, having students work together, of course, is tutoring. Any kind of group work is tutoring. Jigsaw reading would be interactive and tutoring. Games involve a kind of tutoring. But tutoring and mentoring is especially powerful for causing learning. And there's a very interesting study. Students were broken into two groups, and they're told to read something. One group was told to read it because they had to teach it to somebody else. The other group was told to read it because there's going to be a test on it. Which group do you think? Oh, then sorry. Then there was no teaching anybody else. Both groups were given the test instead. And which group do you think scored higher? Well, if your social brain is analyzing my social brain about my presentation on social brain, you already know, of course, it was this group. The group that were studying something to teach somebody else actually learn the material better than the group that was just told to study it for a test. That's pretty cool. And we have examples in history too. After the French Revolution, it was decided to make education universal, but there weren't nearly enough teachers. So the government had children teaching other children for this 30-year period before the teachers came back. And the literacy and other academic achievement just shot really high during that period. Then the teachers came back, and I'm not sure what happened after that. So, tutoring, having people teach each other. Now, here's a picture of a couple students that look like they might be tutoring. It's from Unsplash, and I don't really know what they're doing. Which one do you think is the tutor in here? Jeremy, you got your mic off. What do you think? Which one do you think is the tutor? Can you see that picture?
Definitely the one in glasses.
One in glasses. Yeah. Okay. So your social mind is working like mine. She looks smarter. The one in the white, she looks like she's a night butterfly type, as they would say in Japan. And the one in the blue, she looks like she's serious. She's got her finger out like she knows the stuff. So again, that's our social brain is already analyzing that, and we probably all come to the same kind of conclusion. Oh, she dyes her hair. She's probably out at the clubs. Well, here's a question. Who should be teaching whom? Should it be the smarter one? Or I'll say smarter one teaching the other one? Lieberman says, if the one who's tutoring is the one who really learns the most, maybe it should be the other way around. Have the weaker one teach the stronger one. I like that. Well, the problem is the kryptonite. Too many teachers in the world see education like this. And I don't know if you can see this painting very well, but there's mathematical symbols and musical notes and whatnot going into these children's heads. And this is a real painting that existed in a Catholic elementary school in Portland, Oregon. And the elementary school went out of business and became like a restaurant guy, what do you call it, a bunch of restaurants. And this picture was still on the wall. When I saw this, it just blew me away. So I had a friend, after 20 years, I had a friend go take a picture of it, photo of it. But education is really more like this, isn't it? It's the connection that really makes a difference. And there's research that shows that going all the way back to Ruth Grimes, Jeremy Harmer, other people. In language teaching, Ruth Grimes, it's not the method that makes the biggest difference for student achievement in class. It's the teacher and the teacher relationship. And Jeremy Harmer's research too, I think it was Harmer, found that, again, it's not a particular kind of relationship. It can be like tough, it can be easy, it can be motherly. But the thing is that the teacher has to show that the teacher cares about the learners. It has a huge effect on their achievement. So later, at the last 10 minutes, we're going to have a question and answer period, but I'm also going to give you a chance to join a breakout room if you'd like, and talk to each other instead. But think about this question. How can we utilize the social brain in our classes? And try to think of something that if you've got a really good thing, it might be an activity or it might be a policy. Now, before when I did this, I had this thing, okay, we're not talking about student socializing, we're talking about learning by utilizing the social brain. So don't come up with those ideas. And I thought, wait a minute, that must be wrong. The students socializing on their own is also an important thing. I'm always like, should I be trying to stop my students from socializing in their native language in the breakout rooms? Or is that putting them in a better state of brain for the rest of the lesson? So I'm kind of still growing myself. So never mind that slide. So how do we do this? Well, I was going to have the breakout session here, but since we have some questions at the end, I'll do it at that time. But basically, how can we do better for online teaching? Zoom lectures, no breakout rooms, have lots of breakout rooms. I've made it a policy to have at least 3 breakout rooms every 90-minute class. Even just 2 minutes, so I'll discuss the reading. What do you think? How'd you do in that exercise? Go tell your partners. And it makes a huge difference for students feeling engaged because they're so separated from each other. They crave that so much. Here's something Mark Helgeson, an idea he taught me. Leave Zoom on after class saying, well, I'm all finished, but I'm going to leave this on. If you guys want to keep talking and have lunch together, go ahead. And I did that. I put the students in breakout rooms. So this is the end of class. You can keep talking as long as you want. I had a group of 4 boys. We say boys and girls till the age of 20, by the way. I had a group of 4 boys who kept talking from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. after every class. Their parents probably made them shut down. They probably would have kept going. Watching a video, writing a report. How can we do that differently? Well, have optional meets to talk about the video. Amanda Gillis-Futaka did that, and it really worked well. Have a website where they can share their responses about the video with each other, or a group email. And of course, a great way to do that, if you haven't found the software yet, Flipgrid. I'm using it even now in my live classes. It's where students, a super easy way, they just push the green button, hold their cell phones up, and they can record a video response to each other, or to themselves, or a presentation, or whatever. Reading assignments and homework exercise. Well, why not have different readings and have the students tutor each other? Have 2 readings and set up groups where the students have to teach each other about what these readings are. You know? So what can you do? Well, one thing I changed after being online and coming back into the regular classroom, my online classes, I always started with a music video. And I ended with a touching video at the end. And the students really got into that because, of course, that's activating their social and emotional brain. And I'd like to finish my presentation by activating yours. This is Where in the Hell is Matt, 2012. This guy that kind of was a computer game designer that just started going around the world dancing and getting other people to dance with him. And please watch.
For the days that come
Yeah, that video is so touching, so moving. You know, it makes us, I like to play that video at the start of my class these days to make everybody feel like we're all part of the world and to want to study English. It really activates, I think, our social sensitivity. Oops, not quite sure why. Or like this quote. So if you're interested in neuroscience, by the way, I put the link to my folder, which is full of these kind of touching videos and some other music videos I use in class. I put the link to my folder in Dropbox in the chat. And if you're interested in neuroscience, please sign up for our, please subscribe to our Mind Brain Ed think tank. And actually, if you do, you should do it quick, because this evening I'll be sending out this month's issue, which is going to be on how to read research. And we do have one issue we did last year on the social brain. I put the chat, in the chat, I also put the subscription link for that too. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for this fun presentation. And so now, let's see, how's our time? It's 10:40. We can have about a 5 or 6 minute breakout room where you can share your ideas. Michael's already set those up. Or you can go to the breakout room and come back here. I'll stay here and you can ask questions to me here or make comments here. Okay, so Michael, how's that sound? You gonna start the breakout rooms? And again, the topic is how we can use the social brain in our classes.
Curtis, I've made you a co-host, so I think it will keep you here, maybe. Or
This
maybe.
is, I'm inviting to join room 8, but I'll just type in not now. So that'll do it.
And we can broadcast your question. What's your question one more time? How can we use the social brain?
Yeah, how can we use the social brain in our classes? Policy or activity?
Good stuff.
I tried. I've been doing presentations for a group of teachers in India and try to do breakout rooms. It's just a complete failure. There'd be 4 people in a breakout room and it's like a couple hundred people. So we'd set up what?
We've got a breakout room with 1 person in it. So let's
Yeah. Oh no, we do.
No, I moved him over.
Oh good.
It is.
Thank you. Yeah, that kept happening with the India group. There's nobody in the room but me.
Yeah, my students were quite resistant to doing what I asked them to do in the breakout rooms, because they'd already figured out that I couldn't make it all the way around to every breakout room. So they would just hang out a lot of the time.
Well, is that so bad?
No.
You know, that's I began to think my students so crave to interact with each other. Maybe they need that little thing to help them get into the right mood for English class. They need that kind of little shot of social good feeling. I don't know.
Sorry, I have to do 3 things at once again here.
Okay.
So much fun. It just makes it, you know, I now have 3 screens. I remember when 1 screen was a lot. Now oh no, I need a bigger vertical monitor now. For what?
You need eyeglasses, which is actually this kind of software lets you do this kind of stuff. So Michael,
So,
if you're
Yeah.
probably getting things set up, but feel free to say, I got to do this or something. But interestingly, everybody went to the breakout rooms and stayed there. And that shows how I don't have question and answer periods as much anymore,
mhm.
or I make them optional. Instead, I have like little discussions and said, if anybody has a question, just come down to the front and ask me.
The way I've dealt with questions is I have a shared Google Doc for my different classes. So if people have questions, they can put them there anytime.
Mhm.
And that way they can look there and also see if their question's already been answered. So it's, kind of mixing and matching the synchronous and asynchronous.
Well, I was meaning more in presentations. I don't leave a question and answer period at the end because I find a lot of times that's just like somebody's just going to want to talk about tell their own war story.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
But in oh, there's David. So if you have a 1 minute warning, you should probably
Mhm.
start closing the breakout rooms now because 10:47.
Yep. Okay.
Give you a couple minutes at the end. Yeah, good.
Yeah, in my first session when the first time I did breakout rooms, apparently my settings were such that there was no time at all. So they just closed right away. Bam, everybody was back in the room. It's my one recurring nightmare about this conference was that we would wake up in the morning of the first day, and Zoom will have gone through an upgrade where all the functionality was changed,
Yeah.
where everything was different. Luckily, hasn't happened. Hi, Melvin.
Yeah, the breakout rooms changed in the last upgrade. It was kind of hard to figure out what to do.
I had that
Jeffrey
happen.
Maxwell's been smiling the whole morning. Is he watching like YouTube or something in the background there?
He's watching your touching videos, perhaps. All right, I think he's coming back here.
And there's Grant. He's got that nice background for the pan sig. I like that. Yeah, oh, look at everybody's got their cameras on still. Good. Here's something really cool to do in class. Try this sometime. Just say, hey, everybody, smile. Yeah, and what happens if anybody does that? It just suddenly makes the class, because everybody's got, so it looks so mopey. Zoom normally.
Everybody don't smile.
Thanks, Sean.
Everybody don't smile. Impossible. Well, I think we're finished, right? But thank you very much. I love TESOL so much. So it's good to be able to present again this year. Thank you. And Michael, you're going to start getting the next presentation going?
Oh, we can. You just you cut it off. Does anybody have any burning questions?
Oh, wait, there's still 10 minutes.
Yeah, you can answer some questions.
Oh,
Look,
sorry, I was thinking,
Cheryl always has questions for people, and
I was thinking we had 40 minutes. Oh, I see. Yeah, I miscalculated the time. Yeah. So yeah, please comments, or what, did you hear any good ideas in the breakout rooms, or not get a chance to share yours?
Hey Curtis, I feel like I'm talking to my brother when I say Curtis because same name. Last time I saw you was in Kyoto, so hey.
Carlene, yeah.
The one topic that came up in our breakout room, I think we were in 5, was we were interested in the tutoring. That is there any way of going about that, or you just say like, okay, one teaches the other one, or what is there like a formula to that, or you just let them organically do it?
That's a good question. I haven't been doing it enough, and it seems to work better when you have fairly serious students. But for example, in my business English class, I'll give half the class one particular theory, like SWOT analysis. You know, we're going to make a restaurant and we're going to do a SWOT analysis on it. The other half of the class, another one like Porter's 5. I guess you don't know, this is all from business. And then put them in groups where there's mixtures of the two and they have to teach each other what they came up with or something like that. Or based on the reading. There's no real easy rule, and it depends on the kind of students you're teaching. Can you do one-to-one, or do you have to put them in groups? How dependable are they? I think there's all kinds of questions about that, but that's a good question that I can't really answer. Anybody else have a suggestion on that?
I like the idea of, at the end of a unit, have groups make tests for each other. They work in a breakout room, they'll make a test and then give it to another group, and then they mark the test and tell them why the answer was right or wrong.
Yeah, good.
So, and that does a couple of things. It reviews the material. You get the advantage of them also tutoring each other, and then you, the teacher, get to know what they really know and don't know. And while they're making the test, they often have to teach each other during that time, because there's going to be questions they're making that members of the group won't know the answer to.
So making the test as a group.
Yeah. So a group of 3. I like groups of 3 personally. So I'd put them in groups of 3 and make a test, and then one member, the captain, would go, you know, with breakout rooms, it's really easy. Just put them in another group, to take the test with you, give it to the guys there, and then tell them what they got right and what they got wrong. And so there's a whole bunch of, anyway. Jessamine has a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I looked for a lot of activities this year that would help build the sense of community, even though everyone is in a different place. And I have a couple that I think are really useful and I got them from elementary school teachers, because elementary school teachers, this problem is super big for them. One of them is just where in the world is. Do you know that activity? Where in the world is, put everybody in grid view, and you just have everybody find where the other people are, point to where the person is.
Oh.
Yeah, and it like everybody, like a lot of people, the first time they're on Zoom, they don't realize that everybody is at a different place in relation to everybody else. Like the screen that you see is totally different from the screen that other people see. And this is it's very disconcerting at first. And just doing things like that where you're interacting with the technology, it's a silly game, but you do it for 30 seconds at the beginning of class and everybody realizes, oh, wait, what I'm seeing is different from what everyone else is seeing. And they also practice the names of the other people in the class.
So
That's one example.
I'm pointing at Jessamine. How about?
Yeah, if you do it, everybody put it in grid view, gallery view. Sorry, it's gallery view.
The gallery view, yeah.
Yeah, if you point to me.
Oh,
It's
God.
working. It looks like we're in the same.
Where's
I guess-
David Schaefer? Where's David Schaefer? Point what direction David Schaefer's in. Oh, where is Brian?
Brian. Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah. It depends on how your
I just thought
screen
Schaefer.
is. Yeah. Anyway, that's just an example of something we can't do in the classroom that we have to do on Zoom to try to start dealing with the Zoom medium, I think.
Yeah, you could do things too, like point at somebody with a black shirt, you know, or point at somebody that looks like they have a hangover, you know. It's, that could be anybody.
Camera off.
Can I share something really quick?
Yeah.
If you need to give a hug to someone in a Zoom room, a really great way to do it is just everyone puts out their arms like this and leans forward. It's like a big digital Zoom hug.
Well, that's interesting. So there it is. Leaning forward is, again, people's mentalizing networks and that a certain way. Even just leaning in a presentation, just making a couple centimeters forward has this huge effect on the audience.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting. Hey, there's Carlene.
Are you waving or do you have a question, Carlene?
No. You know, Zoom flips you around, so you have to reorient your left from your right.
It's so true. Listen, I love this, people. I love this group. You're awesome, but our time is finished. You can head over to Discord and continue the conversation over there. I have to close the room really quickly, but if you'd like to stay for Keith Folse's plenary, which is plenary number 8, which is the last plenary on the last day. You can see the smile here. You can do that. That's fine. I do have to close the room really, really quickly, but I'm going to reopen it right away. Go to Discord, get a coffee, water a plant, hug your kids, pet your cat, whatever it is that you do. And we'll get Keith Folse started in 5 or 10 minutes. Goodbye. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, group hug. Okay, here we go.
Okay, enough of that.